You guys, I just got started with my mic off. So here we go. It's 6:05. So we are going to get started. In just a second, I'm going to present my screen so you'll be able to see the slides as we go through a presentation about scholarships, grants, and loans. If you have questions along the way, if you'll type them in the chat box, I won't be able to see them as we're going through the presentation, but as soon as we finish, I'll minimize that, and then we can I'll answer any questions that you've put there in the chat box. And at that point, we can also just open mics and we can chat back and forth that way as well. So thank you guys so much for being here. I'm going to present my screen. So here we go. Scholarships, grants, and loans. I know as you are thinking about next year for yourself or for your student, you are thinking about what the cost of college is going to be. And so fortunately, there are a lot of opportunities out there to earn or apply for money to help pay for that. So we're going to start with what are the different types of aid that you can receive. The three main types are going to be scholarship, grants, and loans. We're also going to talk about work study. And the doorway, basically, for all of the need-based aid that you're going to receive from a college or university is going to be the FAFSA. Now, hopefully, you're planning to attend the FAFSA presentation tonight. FAFSA stands for Free Application for Federal Student Aid, and it is the doorway to all need-based federal and state aid. Some schools also use it to distribute institutional aid. So that's your first step for getting grants and loans. If you're attending certain selective schools, and I've listed here on this slide, the CSS profile is also going to be required, and that's just an additional application for student aid. The schools in North Carolina that utilize the CSS profile are Davidson, Duke, Elon, UNC Chapel Hill, and Wake Forest. There are also some out-of-state schools that use the CSS profile, so if you have any questions about that, then just ask your counselor or our college advisor. So that's going to be the doorway. Those are the applications that you're going to fill out in order to find out if you are eligible to receive need-based federal and state aid. Need-based scholarships and grants go to students who demonstrate financial aid or financial need. Merit-based scholarships go to students who are recognized for something that they've done, whether that is academics, sports, it could be leadership. There are lots of ways to earn merit-based scholarships as well. We are also going to talk a little bit about work study. Work study is not an application that you have to fill out separately. Work study is also determined through the FAFSA. And then private lending agencies can also offer loans. So we are going to go through each of those topics tonight. And your best source of information, what I like to call the Financial Aid Bible, is the Federal Student Aid website, which is studentaid.gov. Now, after tonight, we are going to be sending out the information that we're presenting tonight. So you will receive this information. So you will have all the links that I show you guys tonight. This is the Student Aid website. It's where you will go to apply for financial aid. It's where you'll go to accept your financial aid. It's where you'll go to manage loans if you borrow any money through the FAFSA process. So this website talks to you about what financial aid is, what types there are, how you apply, and it walks you from the very beginning of the process all the way through the end of the process when you pay off any loans that you may take out. So studentaid.gov, Federal Student Aid is, like I said, the financial aid Bible. It's where you're going to go for all of your information. And so if you'll take a look at this screen, when you think about the types of aid that will help you pay for college, there's kind of an order in which you should accept that aid. You should always accept, number one, your scholarships and grants. Scholarships and grants are money that you typically do not have to pay back. Now, there are some exceptions to that. I'll mention it again a little bit later, but if you get grant money from your FAFSA application and you do not keep your grades up, then it's possible that you can lose financial aid, and it's also possible that you might have to pay those grants back. So generally, scholarships and grants do not have to be paid back, but there are some situations where you would have to do that. The second type of aid that you should always accept is work study. Work study is when your university or college will offer you the opportunity to work either on campus or through an off-campus partnership that the university has, and they will pay you, and you can choose to use that money for expenses that you have, or you can use that money to go directly back to any fees that you owe to the college. And then the third type of aid that you should accept are federal student loans. Federal student loans have the least amount of interest than any loan that you can find outside of those loans. Second, or the next type of loans that you can accept are loans from your state government or your college. Again, those loans are going to have less interest, lower interest rates than the very last option, which is private loans. Private loans are always going to have a higher interest rate, and they are not going to defer interest until after you have graduated from college, and some federal and state student loans do. So if you're looking for the order in which you should accept financial aid, this is the order: scholarships and grants first, work study second, federal loans third, state and college loans fourth, and then private loans as a last resort. This is probably the number one question that students ask. Where do I look for scholarships? So here are just a few of the places that you can look. The good news is there are hundreds of thousands of dollars that go unawarded every year in financial aid. So there is money out there. The issue is scholarships are a little bit like having a part-time job. I think it's easy for students to say, okay, I'm going to sit down today, I'm going to work on scholarships, and then I'm done. But unfortunately, applying for scholarships needs to be a year-long or even longer process. It's something that you need to think about. Maybe set aside one afternoon a week where every week on Thursday afternoon, you're going to sit down, you're going to search for scholarships, you're going to work on applications, and you're going to submit those applications. It really is like a part-time job. So several places that you can look are listed here on this slide. And again, this is going to be sent out to you guys, so you'll have these links. The first place is the financial aid office of schools that you're applying to. A lot of them have scholarships, and very often their scholarships will be separated to incoming freshmen and upperclassmen. So you can look directly at your school's financial aid website and find scholarships that are available to you. A lot of times also, once you are enrolled in a college or university, and then you have chosen your major and you are working on classes for your major, there may be scholarships that apply directly to that major. So again, this is not something that you're just going to do this year. You're going to continue to look for scholarships every year until you're out of college, because you don't want to pay any money back if you don't have to. The next thing that you can do is check with your employer. Lots of local and part-time jobs have organizations that offer scholarships. Food Lion has a scholarship. McDonald's has a scholarship. So if you have a part-time job, ask them, do we offer a scholarship? If we do, how do I apply for that? Check into local organizations. The good news is that we are going to be providing you with the links for local scholarships as soon as they come out. Most of those scholarships are not going to be available until January, so it's not something that you have to think about as much right now. But in just a second, I'm going to show you how you can find the scholarships, the local scholarships that we're going to be promoting later this year. Another thing that you can look into is community foundations. If you belong to a church, some churches offer scholarships. There are special interest scholarships. There's, of course, academic scholarships. There are local sorority and fraternities that offer scholarships. So there are tons and tons of things out there. If you just Google scholarships, you will find a never-ending supply of places to look. One of the top websites that we are going to continue to encourage you to use is CFNC. And you've already, or you have the opportunity to hear someone from CFNC talk to you tonight. The College Foundation of North Carolina has a website that is full of information that will help you not only look at majors, it will help you look at career choices. It will help you look at different colleges and what they offer. Some of the colleges that you want to apply to, you can actually apply directly through CFNC. And they're also a wonderful resource for scholarship opportunities. So I'm just going to quickly show you this link. There are at least, I think it said 1 to 100. So we've got at least 100 scholarships that are listed just through CFNC. And these scholarships are going to be scholarships that are only applicable to North Carolina students. So every time you apply to a scholarship that is more specific, so if you apply to a scholarship that is a national scholarship, then you are competing with everyone in the country. When you apply to some of these scholarships, you're only going to be applying and competing with students in North Carolina. And then in the spring, when we start sending out those local scholarship links, you're only competing against those people in our community. So you also want to think about that when you're applying to scholarships. Who is the audience? Who else is applying to this? So CFNC is a great place to look for local scholarships, for North Carolina scholarships. The next site that I want to take you to is the Rocket Dispatch. You've already heard of Rocket Dispatch mentioned one time tonight, and I want to mention it again because it has a plethora of information that you need, and it tends to be several pages long, so I know that sometimes you don't read all the way through the Rocket Dispatch, but it's really important that you do because there's so much good information that can be found there. And one thing that you can find there is every single week, Ms. Lester, our college advisor, lists scholarships. This document that she puts in the Rocket Dispatch each week is updated each week. So every week, you know that you are seeing the most up-to-date scholarship list. So when you get your Rocket Dispatch in your email on Sunday nights, if you log in and scroll all the way down to the end, you're going to start seeing information from Student Services. So we have some newsletters, we have information about senior meetings, and then right here, there's a section just for scholarships. All year, this section is going to be there. So every week, this link is going to be available to you, and when you click there, you're going to find a list of scholarships and scholarship search engines that you can use to apply. So again, here's your part-time job. Look at all of those links. Click on those links and start applying for scholarships. As scholarship deadlines pass, Ms. Lester goes through and strikes through those, so you know I can skip over that one. I don't need to look at that one. That one's already done. So again, every Sunday, Rocket Dispatch. Please read those announcements. And then back to our presentation, there are several other scholarship platforms that you can use. College Board is a great platform to use. The Opportunity Scholarship is actually through College Board, but I listed it separately here because the Opportunity Scholarship allows you to apply for a scholarship just by completing a list of tasks. And those tasks are all things that you should be doing your senior year anyway. So all you have to do is go through and complete those tasks that you need to be doing, and you're automatically entered into a drawing for a scholarship. Some of those scholarships are worth up to $40,000. So that was one that I just wanted to highlight. FastWeb, scholarships.com, and then Federal Student Aid recommended website to use for scholarships. So you have lots and lots of places to look. These are just a few tips as you're searching for scholarships. The first one is going to be get organized. You are going to need a lot of the same information when you're applying for different scholarships. So if you pull all this information together one time and keep it in one place, then you don't constantly have to look for this stuff. So you're going to want to know what your GPA is. You're going to want to have your test scores. Now this year's a little bit different because most colleges are test scores are optional for you to submit. So scholarships may decide this year to be optional to send in your test scores as well. So if the application requires test scores, you need to be able to provide either your ACT or SAT score, but you may not have to this year. You're also going to need your transcripts. For some, you may need your financial aid information or your financial information or your parents' financial information. Here I'm specifically thinking FAFSA is where you're going to have to provide that. You'll also need to have some essays ready to go. It's a great idea to have one or two essays that you can tailor to a specific scholarship. You're also going to need to have either a resume or a list of your community and volunteer experiences so that you can include. And then some scholarships will ask for a photo. We've already talked about resume and essay. The next thing is recommendations. Almost every scholarship is going to require that you submit a recommendation from a teacher or a counselor. You need to request those recommendations early from your teachers and counselors. Everybody is really busy, and so when you ask someone to write you a recommendation letter and the scholarship is due tomorrow, they don't have a lot of time to spend putting together a really well-written and well-thought-out recommendation letter. When I write recommendations for students, I want to include something very specific to that student. I want to talk about a time that I saw them overcome something, or a time when I saw them really working hard for a goal. And so it's much easier to be able to write a letter like that when you have a little bit more time. And then always thank the people that you ask for recommendations. Also, it's a good idea if someone writes you one recommendation letter, ask them to save that and ask if they'd be willing to write you another one or use that one again later. I know you have heard this before, but you should always have a simple email address that you can use. Make sure your email address is appropriate and clean up your social media. A few years ago, they did some studies, and up to 80% of college admissions offices, and so we'll go ahead and assume some of the scholarship tracking our scholarship committees as well, we're checking student social media. So be careful of what you're posting. Now keep track of what each scholarship consists of and when they're due. Prioritize your applications. If you know you've got one due next week, work on that one before you're working on one that's due in December. Follow directions. I know that sounds silly, but you would be surprised. Just make sure you're following all the directions for scholarships, and then make copies before mailing or submitting. Most scholarships are going to allow you to submit virtually, but it's always a good idea to make sure whatever you're submitting that you have a folder. Keep yourself a Google folder that has all of the information that you need right there ready to go, so that if you need to get your hands on it again, it's there. And again, this is a numbers game. You can't get a scholarship if you don't apply for their scholarship. And the more you apply, the better your chances are that you'll receive one. Here are just a few essay writing tips, and I'm going to go through these kind of quickly. If you go to the college application presentation tonight, you're going to hear these same tips. We want to make sure that we're giving you the same information. So first one, this is not an essay like you write for your class. If you're writing a scholarship or a college application essay, this is your story. Be creative. Use anecdotes. Tell us something in this essay that whoever's reading your application can't see from your application, something new. And then put yourself in the reader's position. Some of these people who are reading for scholarships or reading for applications read upwards of 200 to 300 applications a day. What can you write that is going to help someone remember you? Be genuine. Write about something that matters to you. Another great tip is to read successful essays. I'm not going to click on this, but when you get this sent to you, if you click here, it's going to take you to some very very good essays that were that I think are from Johns Hopkins University, and the people who put these together also added a paragraph. It tells you why that essay was good. When they read it, this is why they remembered it. Again, follow instructions and proofread. Always have someone read and always rewrite if needed. Another really important thing to remember is to avoid scams. Do not apply for financial aid or for a scholarship if there's a fee. If you are applying for money that's supposed to be free, there should never be a cost. Be skeptical of someone who calls you about a scholarship. Look out for any strange contact information and look out for guarantees. There is no way anyone can guarantee that you're going to win a scholarship. Protect your personal information. Never give out your account information, credit card information, or social security number. And if you are ever concerned that a scholarship that you're applying for seems just a little bit iffy, always reach out to your counselor or to our college advisor so that we can take a look at it with you. I'm going to go through this in the next slide kind of quickly because this information is going to be something that when you get it in your email, you'll be able to look into a little bit more closely. But we're kind of going back. We've talked about scholarships because those are the ones that you have to go out and apply for. Scholarships are going to take up the most of your time. Grants and loans, which I'm going to talk about quickly, are basically chosen for you. And those two things are going to be chosen for you through the FAFSA application that we've already talked about. So grants are, again, usually gift aid because you don't have to pay them back. There's 4 federal grant programs and 4 state grant programs, and students are automatically considered for those when they complete the FAFSA. One really important thing to note is to continue to receive federal and state grants, students must maintain what is called satisfactory academic progress, or SAP. So colleges will let you know if you are not meeting those, whatever the requirements are at that school. Sometimes it's a 2.0. Sometimes it's a little bit different. You also have to keep up at least usually 12 credit hours per semester in order to receive your full grant. Colleges will revoke your financial aid if you do not meet satisfactory academic progress. So it's really important that once you get that money, you continue to be academically responsible so that you will continue to receive that money. If you click on these links, it will take you to, again, the Financial Aid Bible, studentaid.gov, which will tell you all about the 4 grants for the federal government, and then it'll take you to CF&C here for the state's grants. It'll tell you exactly how much the maximum amount that you can receive, and we'll give you some more information about those. And then last are loans. Of course, a loan is money that you borrow and then pay back. There are 4 types of federal direct loans: direct subsidized, direct unsubsidized, direct plus, and then direct consolidation. Consolidation loans you don't need to worry about right now. That comes later after you've graduated. If you have more than one, you can talk about putting those together and paying them back as one. The direct subsidized loan that you can receive, again, just by filling out your FAFSA, is going to be a loan that does not accrue interest while you're in school. Direct unsubsidized loans do accrue interest, and then a direct plus loan is a loan that a parent can take out if the financial aid office does not give you enough financial aid for you to be able to pay for college. A note is always take out federal loans before private loans and subsidized before unsubsidized. If you take out a federal loan, again, here we go back to the Bible again. Studentaid.gov is going to be your home base for everything loan related. And then the last tip, as you consider borrowing money, only borrow what you need and consider what your future earning potential is going to be based on your chosen profession. So, you know, just thinking about what you want to do. If, for instance, you're going to school, you want to be an engineer, you look at how much engineers typically make when they first graduate from college, and then you figure out how much you think you can realistically pay back when you're thinking about how much money you're going to borrow. So I know that was a lot of information. I'm going to minimize the presentation and then see if we have any questions. We don't have any questions, but if you have any now, feel free to type them into the chat box, or you can just unmute and ask away. No questions? I'll be here for a few minutes, so if you need to log off and log on to another session, I will be here for probably 10 or 15 minutes in case you have something.